Hi, it's Lee from the Japanese Water Gardens. The new season is approaching very quickly. Next week we've actually got our first shipment of koi arriving. So we've been extremely busy getting all the little bits and pieces ready for them. We've had some foul weather, we've had some snow, lots of rain, and that did hold up a lot of the work for a long time. In this video I'm going to take you around and show you all them little bits and pieces of work getting finished off, hopefully getting finished off, and get us all back up to speed on what's been taking place. Around this time every year, we have our first delivery of koi. It's always a busy time for us, and this year is certainly no exception. During the winter, we've been busy with several renovation and improvement projects. I built a new experimental trickle filter for the new quarantine system. It's designed to be compact and totally functional. It should be capable of handling very large amounts of ammonia and nitrites from heavy fish loads. The main display pond has now been covered and it has a fiberglass roof. The roof will dramatically reduce the glare on the water and provide protection in winter for both the fish and the customers. Our most ambitious project was the construction of a 6,000 gallon water storage reservoir. We now have pipes that run under the ground between the ponds. I installed a very powerful pump that can deliver large quantities of fresh water quickly and effortlessly to each of the ponds. I think that this will soon become a system that we wonder how we ever managed without it. We also decided that the long run, where we retail our 4 to 6 inch koi, needed some repainting. The tanks were removed and all the water was pumped out. I then filled and sanded some gaps and painted it from end to end. It looks almost brand new now, and we should get another 4 or 5 years out of it. You'd think that the more shade you have on a pond, the less of a problem you would have with blanket weed. Now these ponds here are actually kept completely sheeted down throughout winter, and this cover blocks out 99% of the sunlight. This has been on for about 4 months now. We've just drained down the pond and there is still a very healthy growth of blanket weed on the side of there, and that's astonishing. Been covered over for all that time with a cover that blocks out the light, and you would think that that blanket weed would stand no chance and that it would be dead, long gone. But that's absolutely not the case, and it's not even weakened it either. It's as tough as anything. So after 4 months in almost completely pitch black conditions, the blanket weed is still growing and it's still in a healthy condition. So So this is seriously tough stuff, and it doesn't bode well for the argument of putting canopies over ponds and shading and what have you to reduce blanket weed, because clearly there are occasions like this where it does absolutely nothing. Total pitch black and still healthy blanket weed. I've been blasting it off with a pressure washer, and even the pressure washer's struggling to get it off. I had to resort to throwing salt at it and rubbing it with a scouring pad to get it off. Horrible, nasty stuff. So I think we'll be back to the cloverleaf again. I mean, cloverleaf might not be 100% effective, but it certainly does the job better than just blocking out all the sunlight. Look at it. Horrible stuff. So this is the other pond here that I've just finished spraying out with the pressure washer, and I've actually salted that as well, and then rubbed it with a metal scourer, so that should kill the damn stuff off. Shade your pond. You don't get blanket weed then. How's it? This is something interesting that I'm going to film for you. Now, we've cleaned out this pond by pumping it down, sweeping it all out, and then blasting it with a pressure washer. Might have seen me actually throwing a bit of salt on that as well. The reason that I throw that salt in there is really to stop myself from slipping about when I first get in, but also because it has a bit of a abrasive quality to it, and it helps you to get some of the muck off the side of the tank, especially when you rub it over with a metal scourer as well. But what I'm interested in here is the bottom drain. Now, it's impossible to ever clean inside that bottom drain, and over time what you might find is that you get a build-up of sediment accumulating in that pipe. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to flush it out, and let's have a look and see if we can get some muck out of it. The bottom drain is running underneath the bottom of the ponds, and then it goes into this filter system here. If you do a gravity fed filter, you're going to have something similar to this. So this is something perhaps that you're going to want to do from time to time. Now, I've got no water here in the pond, and I've got the settling tank full of water. So when I crack open one of these valves on here, the water is going to rush through that pipe, and it's going to push out any muck that's accumulated in there. Obviously it's going to get out the remnants of this cleaning job as well. It's going to give it a real thorough purge out. So let me just do that and let's see what happens. We're actually doing 4 ponds simultaneously. See which one's filling up. God. Yeah, so a lot of muck has come back out of that one. This was relatively clean before we started. You can see that it starts running dirty and then it runs clear when it's pushed everything out the pipe. So we can shut that one off. I can do the others. We've got 4 ponds here. There it goes. It starts really filthy, and then it should eventually start to run clear. It's doing nicely. At this stage, I haven't got enough water in that settling tank carry on, so I'm just going to pump a bit more into it. Now this is the first time that we've used that reservoir around the back, pumping the water in quite nicely, so that's going to fill up that chamber for us pretty quick. Let's crack open the rest of these valves. Let's sprint round and see what muck's coming out of them. So you can see that there is a lot of material still sitting in those bottom drain pipes, and that's got most of it out. This has been running now for about 10 minutes and it's rapidly filling these ponds back up for us. I've been in and made sure that the bottom drain covers are completely down. Only way to do that is get in and stand on them. This one's still filling up a little bit slower than the others. Sometimes that happens, I'm not sure why. If you notice on that bottom drain dome there, as with all these bottom drains here, these are just your standard 110mm Cockney Coy bottom drains. But what I've done to them is I've drilled 2 holes in the top of them. And the reason that I've done that is so that it'll let out any air that gets trapped behind them, and that usually prevents them from lifting off. You drill one right in the center, then one of them slightly off center. This also allows you to fit the bottom drain back on when there's water in the pond. The way that the bottom drain works is it sits on a stem, and that stem has got water inside it. At least if the pond's full, it will have water inside it. So it's impossible for you to refit that dome without those holes being there. That just lets out the water, releases the pressure, and you'll be able to push them back on. A couple of times in the past I'd been to customers' ponds and they'd been struggling getting the domes back on when they had water in, and as soon as we made this modification to the domes, it was much easier and they got them straight back on. We had a bit of an issue with the pump on the main pond. We discovered that the ice had damaged the lid on it and it was leaking. It was also making a bit of a squealing noise when it was operating. So we decided to fit a new pump, and the pump that we've chosen is one of the Evolution Aqua multi-speed pumps. These pumps run, I think they're DC pumps, and the output can be regulated using a panel. And at the moment that's telling me that it's drawing 220 watts of power, and the good thing about these is that you can turn them up or turn them down as you need to, and when you're running them at a low setting you're saving money. 80% power, drawing 220 watts. Flow on this potentially is enormous. It's a 30,000 litre an hour pump. No way would it ever achieve that on the pipework that we've got on this pond, but even so, still very powerful pump. And you can adjust the flow. That speeds up the motor on the pump. Obviously it starts drawing more electric and the flow will go up. At the moment it's drawing 320 watts. The previous pump that we used was a 400 watt pump. Quite a bit of air, I think, in the system there. Heater's on, nearly 17 degrees. These pumps are a new pump from Evolution Aqua, and they're actually dry mountable or submersible. And I've dry mounted this one on a 2-inch feed pipe. Now unfortunately our pipe on the return is only 1.5 inches, so I've had to put an adapter on there and drop that down onto 1.5 inch pipe, which would mean that it'd never be capable of delivering the full flow that it's supposed to be able to do. Even so, it should be very, very high performance, a pump like that. It's quite an old system, this. We've had this pond for 25, 30 years now, and maybe one day we'll do a complete renovation on it and we'll replace all this. This winter I have fitted a new UV. I'll give you a look at that. Just got that covered over with a bit of rubber sheeting. So it's a 110 watt UV. Again, it's Evolution Aqua. Good plug for Evolution Aqua in this video. What I quite like about this design is that the bulbs are actually off the wall. So that's meant that installing the quartzers and getting the bulbs in and out was much more straightforward than the previous model that we had there, which was a TMC Advantage model, one of the old ones. That was quite awkward getting the tubes in and out. But this one, it stands off the wall on these metal brackets by a good probably 8-9 inches, and that's given us plenty of clearance when we're going to have to slide those tubes in and out. So that's the UV. After the UV, we fitted a bead filter. That's been there a good few years now. The point of this bead filter is just to polish the water on the way back. After the bead filter, it runs around the side of the pond and back through 2 side feeds. Back in the autumn, when we closed down our koi ponds, one of the first jobs that I did is transferring all of these mats and filter brushes into the quarantine tanks. Now, there's a very important reason why I did that. We've been storing these mats at a high temperature. In fact, I'll just check what the temperature is, because we've got some fish coming soon and we just turned the temperature up. Let's have a look. So the temperature is about 17 degrees. Now, we're keeping the mats in here and not on the ponds, because in here we can sustain the bacteria by gently seeding it with some ammonia. So what happens is we can avoid the problems of setting up a new pond every year because our mats are already mature with a healthy biomass. So today they're going to be coming out. Ponds are ready for them to go into, and it's full steam ahead. You can see that we go to great lengths to insulate these ponds. Now, I can't emphasize enough how important it is to have some insulation if you are going to heat a pond, because without it you will struggle to maintain a temperature, and it's going to cost you an absolute fortune because all of the heat is just going to rise up straight out the top of the pond and be gone. We use thick sheets of polystyrene at this time of year. They might not have to go to such extreme measures as this, but we do elevate the temperatures, so it is necessary for us to use something of this size. So again, we've had another busy day. All of the ponds now are set up ready to receive the fish. I've just put all the mats and all the brushes into the filters, so they're up and running. The heaters are on, the pumps are on, the aerators are on, everything is set to go. In the next video that you see, we're going to have some fish back here, so that's going to be very exciting. Thank you for watching the video. I did want to point out one thing. We don't actually do any selling on my channel, as you will have realised. If you want to join the Facebook group, it's JWG Koi Carp and Pondfish, then I'll be posting some pictures and some video of the fish on there. That's JWG Koi Carp and Pond Keepers. I'll put a link down in the description as well. Thank you very much. Have a good evening. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you like what you see, please subscribe to the channel. Give the video a thumbs up. Leave some comments below. It's bye for now from Lee at the Japanese Water Gardens.